Lawyers defending Guantanamo detainees say they're being persistently silenced inside military tribunals, with any mention of alleged torture in the prison forbidden. Now, that says pre-trial hearings for 5 men charged over 9/11 are set to start this week. But attorneys say multiple legal restrictions mean they're unable to mount a proper defence. Very pleased to talk about this now with Colonel Maurice Davis, the former chief prosecutor at Guantanamo Bay. Now, he resigned in protest against the use of information obtained by torture and political meddling in military tribunals. We're delighted to have you on the programme. Thanks for being with us. Now, you've witnessed, I gather, what goes on in Guantanamo Bay firsthand. Why do you think, sir, the US is so keen to keep the details of these interrogation tactics under wraps then?
Well, I think they're using the pretext that disclosing it will be harmful to national security. I think the truth is that it will be an embarrassment to the country. I mean, this is more about what we did in the past than the potential harm going forward in the future.
How should these trials be conducted now, in your view?
Well, actually, I agree with Attorney General Eric Holder, who in an interview a few days ago said that not going forward with trials in federal court back in 2009 was in his words, missed opportunity. That we could have done these trials in federal court as he had proposed. The trials would have been over and done years ago. They could have been done safely and securely, but he caved in to the fearmongers, and the trials continue on at Guantanamo Bay for some indefinite period. But I agree with Attorney General Holder that we could have done this in federal court in a manner that, as he said, would have had credibility in the eyes of the world.
Is a change of mindset in this whole issue, this long drawn-out issue, on the horizon anytime soon? Indeed, of course, one of President Obama's campaign promises in its day was to shut down Guantanamo Bay, but it's still there with alleged torture going on. Why is the White House able to keep its closure on the back burner, for instance?
Well, I think here in the U.S., the general public, frankly, could care less about Guantanamo and about the men that are detained there. It's just not an issue that's cracking their top 5 list, and it's an election year, and no one's going to get elected or re-elected campaigning on standing up for the rights of detainees at Guantanamo. There's some hope. You may recall not too long ago the open mic incident when Obama and Medvedev were talking, and he leaned over and said, "Let me get by the election and then we'll talk." Well, there's talk here that after the election, when there is no more political pressure to get reelected again, that maybe he will do the right thing. If you recall, the first President Bush got defeated after saying, "Read my lips, no new taxes." President Obama, with his lips, said, "I'm closing Guantanamo," and he's failed to deliver on that promise.
What made you, as the former chief prosecutor, change your mind about Guantanamo at the end of the day?
What really put me over on the other side was being compelled to use evidence obtained by torture. I think folks could make an argument whether it's morally justified to engage in torture, to collect intelligence to maybe prevent an attack that's imminent, but then to take that same information and hand it over to me and say, okay, now use this as evidence in an American criminal proceeding to obtain a conviction and potentially a death sentence. Was just a step too far. And so rather than go forward with tortured evidence, I chose to resign.
And briefly too, sir, your thoughts about that Pentagon report admitting Guantanamo Bay detainees were interrogated while under the influence of mind-altering drugs. It does beg the question, doesn't it, how they can be charged on the basis of any admissions under these kind of circumstances, yeah?
Well, it does. And again, I think that's the impetus for having secret proceedings, because it's not, again, it's not the harm going forward, it's trying to cover up the embarrassment of what we did in the past.
We're very grateful you taking the time to be with us. Thanks ever so much. Colonel Maurice Davis, former chief prosecutor at Guantanamo Bay on RT International. Thank you.